Welcome to Headline News. This is Maria Han. U.S. issues 4 sanctions in one day, impacting Chinese communist companies and individuals. The Trump administration issued 4 sanctions against Chinese Communist Party (CCP) companies, organizations, and individuals on Thursday, January 14th. Sectors including China National Offshore Oil Corporation (CNOOC), mobile phone manufacturer Xiaomi, Beijing Tianjiao, and Commercial Aircraft Corporation of China Limited, COMAC, were affected. In addition, the U.S. government also blacklisted some Chinese Communist Party personnel associated with the South China Sea issue. CNOOC is included in the list of entities. CNOOC, one of the 3 barrels of oil of China that also includes CNPC and Sinopec, was placed on the U.S. Department of Commerce's Export Administration Regulations list on Thursday. This will restrict CNOOC's access to exports, re-exports, and transfers of projects restricted by the Export Administration Regulations, resulting in significant restrictions on U.S. companies' transactions with CNOOC. The U.S. Department of Commerce has stated that this approach is intended to sanction aggressive moves by the CCP in the South China Sea. CNOOC assists the CCP in implementing its civil-military integration system and making threats against other countries and the U.S. national security. Pompeo mentioned Thursday that the Department of Commerce has added CNOOC to the entity list due to the company's role in China's coercion campaign against other claimants of about $2.5 trillion in South China Sea oil and gas resources. The CCP has used CNOOC and other state-owned enterprises as weapons to try to enforce Beijing's illegal 9-line policy. In 2014, CNOOC used its massive survey equipment, HD 981, to terrorize Vietnam near the Paracel Islands. CNOOC's chief executive at the time had called the oil rig Mobile National Territory. In December 2020, the Pentagon added CNOOC to the list of Chinese Communist Party military companies. U.S. Department of State restricts entry of some Chinese communists into the U.S. On Thursday, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo issued a statement. It said, effective today, the United States is imposing visa restrictions on People's Republic of China individuals, including state-owned enterprise executives, CCP officials, and People's Liberation Army Navy officials responsible for or involved in the large-scale reclamation, construction, or militarization of disputed outposts in the South China Sea, or the CCP actions to coerce Southeast Asian claimants and their immediate family members. All nations, regardless of military and economic power, should be free to enjoy the rights and freedoms guaranteed to them under international law as reflected in the 1982 Law of the Sea Convention without fear of coercion, Pompeo said. The ban in question is similarly aimed at combating the CCP's practice of developing influence in the South China Sea. Xiaomi, COMAC, and 9 other Chinese companies are included in the Chinese Communist Party's list of military enterprises. According to a Reuters report on Thursday, the Trump administration listed 9 Chinese companies, including Commercial Aircraft Corp. And mobile phone manufacturer Xiaomi, as CCP military companies, a list that differs from the Commerce Department's entity list and is issued by the Defense Department. Companies listed as CCP are subject to a new investment ban. According to an executive order issued by the Trump administration on Wednesday, January 13th, U.S. investors will be required to divest their investments from the relevant list as of November 11th, 2021. Beijing Tianjiao was added to the military end-user list. The Commerce Department on Thursday also added Beijing Tianjiao Aviation Industry Investment Co. to the U.S. military end-user MEU list because the Beijing government invested in military industries and acquired sensitive technology through the company. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross said Beijing Tianzhou was aiding the Chinese Communist government's military development after acquiring foreign technology, and that the sanctions in question were intended to warn the company of its ties to the Chinese Communist military. The ban makes it necessary for U.S. exporters to apply for licenses in their dealings with Beijing Tianzhou, a practice designed to reduce the national security threat posed by technology transfer. Biden announced $1.9 trillion pandemic relief package. On Thursday, January 14th, President-elect Joe Biden launched a $1.9 trillion spending package to accelerate vaccine rollout and provide financial assistance to individuals, local governments, and businesses. The proposed bill is called the American Rescue Plan. It would create 100 million vaccines and safely reopen schools within 100 days. The proposal included $1,400 direct payment to individuals. On January 4th, Biden promised that he would ensure $2,000 of stimulus payments. The U.S. government had already released $600 per person as assistance payments during the late December pandemic relief program. Biden ordered for building vaccination centers and sending mobile units to hard-to-reach areas. His plan provided $50 billion for COVID testing and $130 billion to help reopen K-12 schools. In addition, the bill also contains a number of economic policies supported by the Democrats, including raising the minimum wage to $15 per hour, increasing paid leave for workers, and increasing the tax credit for families with children, requiring help provided to women to return to work more easily. These policies would offer incentives for the economy to recover. The timing of when the bill got introduced to Congress is unclear. The Associated Press reported that, in a joint statement, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer praised Biden for including liberal priorities and said they would act quickly to pass the bill. But aides said that the bill could add to the trillions of dollars in debt the government has incurred in response to the pandemic. The Biden administration will need to justify the need for increased spending and borrowing to prevent economic conditions from continuing to decline. Our work begins with getting COVID under control, Biden said when he announced the relief package, and we cannot repair the economy, restore our vitality, or relish life's most precious moments until we get it under control. Recently, the employment rate rose in the U.S. as the pandemic worsened over the winter. According to government data released Thursday, weekly unemployment numbers jumped to 965,000, with an increase of nearly 200,000 per week compared to October, November, and even early December periods. At the same time, the number of deaths in the U.S. due to the pandemic has increased rapidly since mid to late December, creating new challenges for the U.S. economy. Navarro, big tech attack on Parler is chilling. Peter Navarro, trade advisor and director of the White House Office of Trade and Manufacturing, said this week that the coordinated crackdown by several tech giants on Parler has a chilling effect and is a threat to democracy. Navarro told Maria Bartiromo of Fox News, "What we have here is a class of collusive oligopoly, a kind of new wine in an old bottle." He said the attack on Parler is chilling to him. It's one thing to deplatform everybody for free speech, but this was a pincer move where Google and Apple, the first part of the pincer, was to not allow Parler apps to be down. Navarro said Amazon launched a brutal kill by taking the cloud away from Parler, a small company, because it was no longer able to access its data. Effectively, Amazon wiped out Parler. In the last week, Google and Apple have removed Parler from their respective app stores, and on Monday morning, January 11th, Amazon Web Services, AWS, announced that it had suspended service to the Parler site. Parler then filed a lawsuit against the Seattle-based tech giant, claiming that AWS violated the Sherman Antitrust Act and breached contractual agreements. AWS responded by claiming that there is significant content on Parler that encourages and incites violence against others, and that Parler is unable or unwilling to promptly identify and remove this content, which is a violation of our terms of service. Navarro said that Twitter has double standards. For example, former Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini was allowed to tweet, and agencies of the Chinese Communist Party were allowed to tweet, but President Trump's account was deleted by Twitter. He added, "It is a very serious threat to our democracy." Twitter's suspension of Trump's account has been criticized by leaders of other countries, including Germany, France, and Mexico. A legislative council member of the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, says big tech wielded unchecked power in clamping down on freedom of expressions. In a statement, ACLU senior counsel Kate Ruane said, "The decision to remove President Trump from social media could set a dangerous precedent for big tech to silence less privileged voices." Ruane added, "It should concern everyone when companies like Facebook and Twitter wield the unchecked power to remove people from platforms that have become indispensable for the speech of billions, especially when political realities make those decisions easier." Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.